Okay, greetings everyone, and welcome to the Black Books webinar. I'm your host, Makonnen Sankofa. Just a reminder, house rules. I mentioned it earlier, but if you're just joining us, please mute. If you're not speaking, please mute yourself so we don't hear any noise in the background. I'm gonna introduce our first speaker. But before I do that, I just want to basically explain what the Black Books webinar is for those who haven't been on a Black Books webinar before. So I launched this platform in May 2020. And I did a one-off event. It was because I launched my book prior at Dee Bailey, who's one of the authors that will be speaking at her Black Bookcase event in Luton, which is just over 2 years ago now. And I wanted to do an event to kind of commemorate that. So I decided to do a Black Books webinar, but I also wanted to invite other authors because I wanted them to share the platform with me. So I invited some other authors I knew. The event was a big success. So I then decided to do the event the following month, and it's just grown from there to there. And I've been doing it now for just over a year. I've had over 100 authors of African Caribbean heritage, and they cover a wide variety of different genres. So it can be history, fiction, non-fiction, children's books, relationships. So it's a wide variety. And also it is an international platform. So it's not just authors here in the UK. You'll also be hearing from authors like Latrina, Della Tracy, and other people from the United States of America. Marlene, who should be coming on later, she's also going to be coming from Jamaica. So it's an international platform. It's always on a Sunday every month. It's normally at the moment on the last Sunday of the month, and it is 4 hours between 4 and 7 p.m. The authors, they get a certain slot where they speak and they talk about their books, and also sometimes their journey and other things they're doing as well. So it gives you a bit more insight into the author. So I'm going to now go to our first speaker, author, and Vanika Marshall. Vanika has actually been on my platform before. She's been on my platform last year, which she was talking about her book, her Black History book in the UK. She's also written another book now, which I believe she's a kind of like a teaching guide that she can use, which has got about the icons and important people in Black history, not just in UK, but also in America and other places as well. So Vanika, if you just like to unmute yourself and come on and then talk to us a bit more and tell us about your books.
Okay, yes. Can you all hear me? I think I'm unmuted. Yes.
Yeah, if we can get you.
All right, brilliant. So yeah, thanks, Makonnen, for that intro. So yeah, for those who don't know me, my name is Vanika Marshall. And yes, I think I first attended one of your webinars last year. It might have been about August, I think, as an attendee. And then I think I came back the following month in September as a guest speaker, I think talking about the first book, as you mentioned. And then I think October, I came back as a sponsor. So I think I've been on the platform a couple of times. And yeah, I'm honored to be back again on this platform to be able to speak about the second book, which wasn't published the last time. We was hoping it would be, but it wasn't at the time. So yes, I'm honored to be back to be able to speak about the second publication, but I'll speak a little bit about both of them anyway. So just a little bit about me. I am a mobile loctician, which I've been doing for about 12 years now, on and off. I've also worked with the 100 Black Men of London, which is a charity organisation, for about 6 or 7 years now as a youth mentor. So we mentor young people between the age of 10 and 15. And I'm also the co-founder of the Hidden Science Academy with my brother, Leo Marshall, aka The Scientist. You can follow him at The Scientist online. But yeah, that is a organization that was launched in 2018 with our very first event, which was called The Hidden Science of Black Hair. So that was September of 2018. And we are currently promoting our next Hidden Science of Black Hair event that will be taking place in Birmingham of this year. So that would literally be our 3-year anniversary. since launching the Hidden Science Academy. And that, I believe, will be the third Hidden Science of Black Hair event that we'll be doing when it comes in September. So that will be Birmingham, September the 4th, but I will put the links in the chat as well. I'm also a community events volunteer. So prior to the Hidden Science Academy, I was sort of doing work in the community in the events arena. So just sort of assisting other events and helping out, which kind of helped when my brother and I started our own company where we were delivering like events and stuff like that. So the Hidden Science Academy, just to give you a bit of background, is an education provider. So we put on workshops, events, seminars, lectures. We will be going on to organise getaways and weekenders. And as I said, I work alongside my brother and I. There are some other people on the team as well that we include to help out. And we also collaborate with other events as well to put on particular webinars and stuff like that. So, but I am here today to speak about the two publications that I am a co-author of. So the first publication is called Black British History, Black Influences on British Culture. And that publication is this one here. So for those who haven't seen this before, this book here. So it is available on Amazon and you can get it directly from myself. I'll put my details in the chat as well. So Black British History, Black Influences on British Culture was published in 2017, in September of 2017. There are 4 authors, and one of the authors is none other than the Black history man himself, Robin Walker. And the other 2 authors are students of Robin Walker. So we all met studying with Robin Walker, one of his courses, African Studies, back in 2014, I believe it was. So we all met studying with Robin Walker. And then when we finished his course, we then were able to collaborate with our teacher to put this project together. So it's myself, Benika Marshall, Robin Walker, Paula Perry, and Anthony Vaughan. Those are the 4 authors of Black British History, Black Influences on British Culture. So when we met in 2014, we met studying African Studies, which was the level 1, which was a free course at the time. It's no longer a free course, and quite rightly so. And then we went on to do level 2, and then we went on to do level 3. When we finished level 3 of Robin Walker's African Studies course, we began to teach at the Saturday school that we were studying at, which was the Croydon Supplementary Education Project. So that's located in Croydon. It's a supplementary education school. It's a Saturday school. So that's where we were studying African Studies. And then when we finished level 3, we became volunteer teachers. So myself and Paula was teaching Robin Walker's resources. So Robin Walker, for those that don't know, is a writer and author, a historian in his own right. And he has resources and books that we use to provide African Studies, Black history to the young people that attend that school. So we were using his resources on a Saturday when we began teaching there and teaching Robin Walker's resources and books. So after a while, when we sort of finished the resources that we were using, myself and Paula began to discuss like what additional information can we use to provide to the young people. We brought it to Robin, we all had a meeting, and we decided that we can teach the young people history from the Black British experience, because we were teaching them African history. Many of the schools provide that narrative for the African American experience, Black American experience in terms of Black history. Often slavery is taught, etc. So we wanted to provide a narrative that was more centered around the Black British experience and for young people, the young people that we were teaching. So it wasn't initially going to actually be a book. It was just something that we wanted to do the research for and then provide that resources to the young people that we were teaching. But as we started to do the research for this book, I remember going to Robin and saying, this, I think we should turn this into a book, I think this actually should be a book. And Robin was like, yeah, it's definitely going to be a book. I'm with you, I'm one step ahead, etc. So I was like, great, we're all on the same page. So we had various meetings about what we would talk about, where we should start, and we decided to start the narrative from modern Black British history. So we start the narrative from the arrival of the Empire Windrush in 1948. So happy Windrush Day to you all. That was the 22nd of June. So we start the narrative from the arrival of that ship, and then we chronicle various events that took place over the next 70 years on what took place in this country. So the book is entitled Black British History, Black Influences on British Culture. So we largely look at how the Windrush generation impacted Britain and how white subcultures were influenced by the Black people in this country. So food, music, fashion, etc. So subcultures such as the punks, the mods, skinheads, we highlight some of that. We also highlight some of the Black British struggle in terms of violence, racism, activism. We look at people like Claudia Jones and Carnival. We highlight the bus boycott in this country. Many of our young people are learning about the bus boycott that took place in America, but not aware of the bus boycott that took place in Bristol in the 1960s in this country. So it's very important for young people to know about some of the things that took place in the country that they live in, as opposed to sort of learning, while it's important to learn about the American experience and learn about African history, of course, but we have activism here, we have heroes and sheroes right here in this country. Some are still alive today. So it's important to have that narrative for young people as well. So that was that first publication, Black British History, Black Influences on British Culture. And then we went on to do some research for another publication that was published last year, December. So when I came onto this platform, I think it was last year, September, October, or even when myself and Brother McConnell was talking about my appearance coming on the platform, I was really hoping the second book would be available by then, even by October, which was Black History Month, but it didn't drop by then, but it dropped in December of 2020. So that's been out since December, and that one is called 30 Black History Icons. So that's this book, also available on Amazon, and also written by the same four authors. So myself, Paula Perry, Robin Walker, and Anthony Bourne, we've collaborated on this second project, which is 30 Black History Icons, and it's 500 years of global Black influences. So just put that up again for guys if you want to have a little look on Amazon. It is available on Amazon, as I said, and also I'll put my link, my sort of contact details if you wanted to get directly from me or any of the other authors. But yeah, I'll put my details in the chat. So that publication is not just centered around British history. We actually look at key figures across the globe that we think are, important for young people to learn about. So the first publication was about the Black British experience, and this publication is more about the global influences. So we span it from about 500 years, and we're looking at Europe, India, UK, the USA. So various icons that we think are important. So just to name a few, we talk about Juice Muhammad Ali, we talk about Madam C.J. Walker, we mention Ibrahim Petrovich Hannibal, and also Catherine G. Johnson, Louise Bennett. So people like that, just to name a few. Many of the people, or most of the people that we list, the 30 Black history icons, were people that were architects, mathematicians, intellectuals, poets, classical scholars, writers, professors. So key figures that we believe that young people and anyone really should know about. We designed the books for Key Stage 3 level. So that's young people between the ages of 11 and 14, but it really can be used for pupils slightly older, slightly younger. homeschooling parents can obviously adapt the resource to cater to the ages of their children. So it can work for slightly younger and slightly older. Really good for grandparents. I get a lot of grandparents contacting me so that they can share the information with their grandchildren and sort of read the books with their grandchildren. The layout of the books is that we have activities for the young people to do. So we'll have information on the left-hand side and then the activities page on the right-hand side. So it's just simply questions for the young people to answer, just to exercise their sort of analytical skills, which ties in with the national curriculum of that key stage level in terms of what it is that they should be doing at that age, which is between 11 and 14, which is key stage 3. So it's very active, like you can participate. So although we've designed it for young people, parents and grandparents can use it. The information is definitely valuable for all ages. I have university students wanting to buy the book from me as well, based on their studies, to use it as resources for their studies. So although we have designed it for that secondary school age, 11 to 14, it certainly can work with younger students and older people as well. So as I said, I will put my details in the chat, so you can contact me directly to purchase those books or find out a little bit more about what they entail. They are also available from Amazon if you wanted to get directly from Amazon, or if you wanted to obviously support the authors directly, then yeah, you can contact me. I'll put my details in the chat. So those are the two publications. We most likely will do another one. I can't give too much information about what that will be. We are in talks about a third publication. We're a bit of a dream team, so I think we'll hopefully keep putting out information of different areas, you know. So we may look at putting out a publication for slightly younger pupils as well, but we are in like discussions as a team about what our third publication will be. So I think that's about it. I'm just trying to think if there's anything else that I have missed out, but I think I've more or less tied up just a brief summary of what those two publications are about. So Black British History, Black Influences on British Culture is largely the Black British experience. And then the second publication, 30 Black History Icons, 500 Years of Global Black Influences, is the second publication. And that is key figures that we think are important for young people to know, and that is world history. So across the globe, not just centered on Black British history or Black American history. So it is across the globe. So I think that's my time. I think I'm a little bit under, but I believe that's all I wanted to say about those two books.
Okay, so that was Vanika Marshall. Our next speaker I'm going to introduce, we're going to be going to the United States of America. I think she's in Mississippi. She'll let us know though. If she's nodding her head, so I guess I'm correct. No, Latrina, it's not you yet. It's Stella Tracy. We've got two speakers from Mississippi. We'll be hearing from Latrina from Mississippi Speaker Connection later. That's why I said that. But another speaker from Mississippi is Dr. LaTracy. And just a quick introduction before we go back to Dr. LaTracy. So she is an author. She's also owns a bookstore. She runs 2 bookstores in America, and she's got a connected with her because she's got a Facebook group as well on social media. And yes, I joined the Facebook group, and she also, I believe, runs courses and does a lot of other things within the book industry. So I'm going to let her explain more about exactly what she does now. So Dr. LaTracy, if you'd like to come on, and we welcome you to your first appearance at the Black Books webinar.
Yes, thank you so much for having me. I am delighted to be able to join you all from the great state of Mississippi here in the United States. I have always said that this is a global movement, and this speaks for itself. And so I am the owner of Black Authors Rock. We are a full service coaching, consulting, and publishing firm along with 2 bookstores. We have one of our bookstores at Keezer Air Force Base, and the second one, we have a location at the Mary C. O'Keefe in Ocean Springs. Love, love, love what I do. I love to be able to help authors be able to monetize their stories and make multiple streams of income from it. Mm-hmm. So it is so essential that these type of platforms are here. Many of you know COVID has changed a whole lot for us. And because COVID has changed a whole lot for us, we're able to meet and greet and exchange all over the world just using technology. And so I love that. So while I have the time, I just want to invite you all to join us at the Black Authors Rock community on Facebook. We also have Black Authors Rock on Instagram as well as on Twitter. We love engaging. We are all about support. We are all about not only supporting one another, but we have started a wave. You know how a wave is? You can get just a little pebble and you can put it in the water, and then next thing you know, it ripples and it gets larger. That's how we started. So I started Black Authors Rock back in 2017. It was December of 2017 because I had already been in publishing, and I had a publishing agency that was very successful, might I add, but yet I saw the need for Black authors. That's where my heart is. But even though the Black authors is where my heart is, it never stopped. The fact that we have a global movement. We also have a nonprofit Bar Arts Collective where we have multifaceted and multi-cultural arts. And so we're not just leaving everyone else out. We are engaging with everyone because they need us, right? That's why we're here. So join us in the Black Authors Rock community online. That is the first step that you can connect with us. So why are we here? We're here because I was invited to come and speak to you all this morning or this afternoon or wherever you are in the world. It's this morning for us in the US, where I wanted to share with you what every Black author needs to do now. Universal. There are things that we need to know. Many of us are gifted in writing, but other of us are gifted in marketing. And then some of us are gifted in graphics. So wherever your expertise is, walk in it. That's the niche for Black Authors Rock. We engage with you right where you are. If you say, you know what, I'm a writer, but I can't promote, we got you. You say, you know, I'm a writer, but I would rather speak, then we connect you over with Latrina. So we make sure that we have connections of individuals, both in state and globally, where we could connect you with, that you can walk in your lane so that you can have exactly what you need. That's what Black Authors Rock is all about. We don't believe that you should just be sitting there, not knowing you wrote a book, now what? Have you ever been in that situation? We've been there. One weekend, I made over $10,000 off of one book because my gifting is marketing. I can take a book idea and create the monetary value with multiple streams of income from that one book project. That's a gift of mine. My team and I are so elated to help individuals right where they are because we believe that we're the ones that we've been waiting for. I know that if it's publishing or if it's the writing coaching or if it's the promotion or you want to have your books in the bookstore, all of those things, we make those things affordable for you and right at your fingertips. But if you don't know, then you don't know. And there's nothing wrong with that. We just want to make it where we are the Black Amazon for Black authors. You see what I'm saying? Because so many people realize that we have everything we need right here, this community. Those who are watching and those who will be watching the replay, we are the ones that we need. So let me just share something with you. I am sitting in my bed. You can't tell, right? I'm sitting in my bed, recovering from surgery, but I'm still getting the job done. I said that because while I'm sitting in my bed, I'm still getting the Cash App dings, the PayPal dings, the Stripe notifications, the Square notifications, because I'm still getting paid because I have systems in place. If you don't have systems in place, then you can't keep making the money while you rest. I am currently on medical leave, only doing this broadcast. Yeah, my family thought I was crazy, but at the same time, I had to show them that I not only speak what I teach, but I walk it out. In my bed, I'm able to make multiple streams of income from my book projects. That's one of the things that I teach about in 100 Things Every Black Author Needs to Do Now. One of the things. I said it's 100, and I promise you it's more than that in the book, but just take the meat and spit out the bones. That's where we are. Because a lot of people don't understand that you have to have not only the marketing, you have to have the team, you have to have the support, you have to be able to have automation. Automation is a part of your team. Do you know that? Oh no, don't worry about it, Dr. Velma. I am working from my bed and my team is amazing. I love the fact that my home is my oasis. I also love the fact that I have put things in place and I'm not only teaching from this very position, but I had already had things in place prior to. If you all were to have an emergency and have a situation where you could not go to a vending event, is your book still being sold? Mine are. They're in the Black Authors Rock bookstore, online and in person. And you could be doing the same thing. We want to put you in position as a Black author so that you can be right where you need to be. And for those of you who are watching that may not be a Black author, you're like, can I get my book in the bookstore? You sure can. You sure can. Can we support you? We sure will. We have authors of different nationalities. We celebrate ours. Just saying that. Why? Because we believe that we are the ones that we have been waiting for. And so have you ever seen a Black-owned, Black-authored only bookstore? We have that. Sounds like I'm contradicting myself, huh? But I'm not. Because we're strategic in how we have set things up. We're strategic in how we support you as authors, because we know that you need to still sell your books. We know that you need to still have engagement and that you need to have education. One of the discussions that we have in our community right now is marketing. A lot of people say, I can have someone edit my book. You know, I have a friend who can read over it and proof it, still may have some mistakes, and that's fine. But then they say, well, you know what? Marketing is my issue. That's one of the things that you need to know when you are a writer. You need to start marketing right when you decide that you want to write a book. No one ever told you that, huh? You need to start engaging with your audience. Who is your target reader? Do you know how to identify your target reader? These are questions that you need to know as a Black author. Do you know that there are multiple different ways that you can sell your book right where you are? Most people don't read your book when they purchase it. They purchase it because of you. So what are you doing with those relationships that you have? All of those things are so important. And you're looking like, hey, that sounds good. I like that information. I am my brand. I truly am my brand, because I believe that if I don't walk out what I teach, then who am I, right? One of the questions that was just asked was, who manages the inventory and the stock? I have an amazing team. So here's how we do it. We have, at the bookstore, we have individuals send in 10 copies, 5 for each location. Those locations are not only managed online and sold online, but also in person. Keesler Air Force Base is a military base here in Mississippi, and that is our main location. And we have people that are international that come through the military base every day. We're open 7 days a week. And because of that, every time a book is sold, it goes not only into our paper, because I love, love, love spreadsheets. It's in paper form. It is also in digital form. And you also get paid for every book that is sold. Every book that is sold. In the beginning, when our inventory was small, we make sure that you were paid the same day. Now, you're paid within the same week that your book is sold, and you get notifications of when your book is sold, and you can even send in rack cards, business cards, pins, and those type of things. If your item is on Amazon, do they advertise your book? They don't. Do they market your book? Because it's a difference. They don't. Do they promote your book? They don't. There are over thousands of individuals who have their products on Amazon, and your one book project is not being promoted. That's the difference between Black Authors Rock and Amazon. You can reach us by telephone. How many of you have tried to reach KDP customer service? I love it. And you reached out to them and they say, we'll call you back within 72 business hours. And it turns into over 150 business hours. We're personable. And I love that. And yes, we're going to eventually have to scale. But at the same time, right where we are, we're doing amazing. Money comes in. You earn your money. You also get online promotion. You get your, you get spotlighted in our e-blast, our newsletter, our press releases, any speaking engagements. I just chose to do this speaking engagement, but any other speaking engagement that comes up for Black Authors Rock, and you are a spotlight author with your book in the bookstore, you get to go and do that book, that speaking engagement. I believe that what I and my team makes happen for you, God will make happen for us. And I walk in that. I truly am Black Authors Rock. I sleep it, I dream it, I work it. That is me. I love what I do. And that is why we have decided to create this book, 100 Things Every Black Author Needs to Do Now. Now, we will have that link in the chat. But this book right here has an opportunity for you to take what you need and throw the rest out. That's all that being an author is all about. There's some things that you're great at. Hone into those and hire for the other things. We believe that you need to have this information. That is why we have the support of the community. And so we believe that it is so vital for us to work together as people. We believe that this is a global movement, and this opportunity to speak here this morning is just that. It's a global opportunity. And with Black Authors Rock being present, it's a way for us to share. And we don't believe that we're the only ones who needs to eat at the table. This is an opportunity for us all to win. And so why not do that? So join us in the Black Authors Rock community on Facebook. Also join us on our Instagram with Black Authors Rock, our Twitter with Black Authors Rock. My page is basically full, but we do have, you can also follow me on social media, Dr. LaTracy, and we are available. So yes, please join us. If you want to purchase the book, it is bit.ly/bar, which is capitalized, and I'll also put it in the chat, 100 Things Book. It is so essential for you to get what you need. And I'm so grateful for this opportunity because I believe that we need to work together because we're truly the ones that we've been waiting for. And so, yes, I know I told you in the beginning that I'm working from my bed, but during COVID, how many of you were working from your bed? This is no different. I just happen to have great pillows and an amazing team that make me look good and feel good throughout the entire process. And I'm grateful. And so if you don't have a team, link arms with the Black Authors Rock community team because the team is there. We are international and we are here to support you. So thank you so much for this opportunity. Again, I'm Dr. LaTracy with Black Authors Rock. Join us in the community. I know that you will receive something that you need as a Black writer. If you want to get your books in the bookstore, we'll put that link in there as well. Yes, it is an investment because we also promote you and market you and we position you for your next. And so this opportunity is available to you and anyone that you're connected to. So for those who are publishers and you have a bunch of books that you would like to get into the bookstore, reach out and we can also customize your plan to have several of your books in the bookstore at a time. So are there any questions? Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. LaTracy. I think there was just so much within that short space of time that you covered. I think it was a really, really good presentation. I actually, I said before we started this, and I was like, I want to say to people that haven't joined again, I was worried that you wasn't going to be available today, because when I saw those pictures on Facebook of you when you was in hospital when you had that surgery, I was like, oh my god, she's not going to make it. But I'm so glad that you joined and just gave such a great speech, and you covered so much. For me personally, I mean, one of the things that I picked up was the whole that you helped with a book make £10,000 in a week. Yeah, that's amazing. I wonder if you could help me make £10,000 in a week with one of my books.
Yeah, and it's all about the marketing, because there's so many people that already follow you, but they want to have a relationship with you. That's all that it's about. That's why I posted the picture about me being in surgery, because so many times people don't realize I've been back and forth into the hospital for the last couple of years, but when they know something about you personally, they can relate to you better. And so when they relate to you better, then that builds your credibility.
I'm definitely looking forward to in the future working with you, and there's other people. I've got other platforms that I do work with, so I'm definitely looking forward to collaborations in the future, and potentially having some more of your authors come on my platform and circulating my books within your network, and getting the Black Books webinar out within the Black Authors Rock community. So we'll work within that in the future. One of the other things I picked up from what you said was, is to be your own brand, and I think Dee Bailey commented on that in the Zoom chat as well. And I think that is so important. When most people buy the books, like you said, a lot of people don't necessarily read it. Some do, some don't, but I certainly noticed within my book, like for example, and a lot of people do read my book, but I'm saying that the majority of people who buy my book buy it purely because of me. Like I would say, if I put my if I put my book just like in certain bookstores like a Waterstone or whatever, people probably wouldn't get picked off the shelf. But it's because when people see me speak at events, because I'm always in the social media doing speaking engagements, talking. I'm always out there in the community. People can always access me in different places, whether it's when I was before COVID live events, or even when I was in Gambia, I did lectures in schools or whatever. And then I've got a portfolio on my YouTube channel, which I constantly keep and I always post up. So I'm always like in certain platforms or certain spaces. And when people see me talk about the passion, then it goes into like your why, which you mentioned as well. Why you've written a book, because if you've written a book, for example, but there's no like motivation, or you're not passionate about it, people like feed off of that passion. So sometimes a lot of people, when they see me at events, they buy the book just because I'm passionate about what I'm speaking about. So I think that's very, very important, being the own brand and marketing. Like you said, again, marketing, again, this is a platform for the people that are listening. We've got 39 participants that are listening on this platform. So, and obviously I'm also on a radio now as well. So if you're listening on a replay on radio, and the guys that are on this platform, that if you are interested in featuring, if you're an author yourself and you would like to feature about your book, please get in contact with me. You would all have my details anyway via registering, but I'll put my details in the chat as well. Send me an email or give me a call, and we can just take things from there as well, because we are open to having more authors on our platform. So I'm just going to wrap it up now and say thank you, Dr. LaTracy, for coming on the Black Books webinar. It was a pleasure to have you on. I'm now going to introduce our next speaker, and our next speaker, I've known her for probably about six years or so now. I used to live in Luton. I'm in London at the moment, but I think I first met her when we was doing debating. I used to do debates for an organisation called the Diaspora Debating Association, and it was a debate about the relevance of, is Black History Month more relevant than Kwanzaa? And then I've been on a couple of debates by this Diaspora Debating Association. I won both of them, obviously, as a captain. But I met her then. Since then we've met in various different places. We've worked together as part of when I was with African Heritage Network of Luton, and we put on a Kwanzaa event together, and she volunteered to help us. And then we also worked together at the Luton Black Film Club, which was a monthly. I think it started bi-weekly and then it went monthly, which was a club that we did, which people could come in and then watch different films, not just in the UK but America, Caribbean, different places, different Black films or films directed films that have got Black characters in there. So she's also got the book Life in Lockdown, which was released last year, which featured several different authors. Some of them have been on this platform, like Natural Mystic Leisha, and among some of the other authors. And yeah, she does many different works in the community. As I mentioned earlier, the Black Bookcase, which is when I launched my book, The Rise of Rastafari, my debut book, was launched on our platform 2 years ago. Well, I mean, I could go on and on, but I'm doing all the speaking now.
Yes.
You're meant to be doing the speaking. I want to hand it over to you now, because people are going to say, "We're fed up with Colin talking about this woman." I'm gonna hand it over to you, Dee, so you can do the rest of the introduction.
Excellent. You guys hear me okay?
Yeah.
Wonderful. Okay, thank you so much, Conan, for the great introduction as always, and for creating this. It's an awesome platform. I've sponsored before, I've attended before, and it truly is. And the fact that we are in such times now, it being global is on another level. So I just want to say thank you once again. So I'm on a timer, guys, because I can talk just like Conan. I'm going to try and not overdo my time today. So just giving you just a little bit of background about myself. So my name is Dee Bailey. I am the founder of Simply Dee's Events, which is now a CIC, which for those that are not in the UK, it is a community interest company. So I work full time, doing a particular job. I'm currently working from home, but my passion is very much people. It's very much the community, very much the village, and how I can make a difference. And this started, my sons are now like 28, 27. And I was at a time where, when I think, and I'm being honest with you, I think as African Caribbean people, if there's like masters, diplomas, we could certainly get a degree in terms of complaining about things. Okay, it doesn't matter what it is, we've got something to say. But how many people have got so much to say, but when it comes to actually walking and doing something and making a difference, that's where we can potentially fall short. So that's where I started my love, shall I say, getting involved, parent governor. There's people that have events. Obviously we're talking about Conan's event now. It's like, okay, how can I support? If that's a share, if that's a like, do you know what? That's how simple it is sometimes. It's not always necessarily about money. So, so I've got the community interest company, organised various events. Like Conan said, it's actually 2 years ago in May last year, and I held the Black Bookcase, and that was art, craft fest, where those that were involved had to be of African Caribbean heritage. I had 24 authors, 44 exhibitors in total, 3 publishers and 3 booksellers. We had over 400 people come through those doors, and that is in the UK. Now, obviously with COVID, I've now brought that online, and it's very successful. I will post my details in the chat, so we can talk about that a little bit later. So last year, March, what happened last year, March, certainly in the UK and all over the world, COVID took form. It's like, oh my God, what am I going to do? I'm used to actually doing physical events. Time does not stand still for any of us, as we know. So, good old Zoom. Let's see what we can do. So for the past, since April of last year, I started a weekly Zoom every Thursday, 7 till when we're done, so that we could connect. And this is anybody, any ethnicity, we could connect. And just trying to get by. That's all it is, trying to get by. I actually called the Zoom Life, not in lockdown, Life in a, because it is life in a lockdown. Okay, 6-7 weeks in, You can tell something special was happening. One of the ladies that were on Zoom sort of said, we need to document this. I'm like, do you mean a book? This is what's happened. If you can see that, guys, this says life in a lockdown 2020 behind closed doors. Okay, and if you can see on the back there, 22. There's 22 authors. Okay, and what we've done, it's an anthology. Okay, so each one of us have written a chapter each, just sharing a little bit of our life at the time, which was between March and May of last year, when lockdown literally just started. At some stage, I thought, yeah, do you know what? I'll get around to writing a book. And maybe in 10 years' time or so, this came about. When you get an opportunity, you see your hands, grab it with both hands, which is what we did. As you can see, I am the lead author of this book, and it was published on the 11th of July, 2020. Literally in the space of 7 weeks from being written to being published. We wanted it out there in the masses. So this book is in India. This book is in Australia. This book is in Europe. This book is in Africa, America. Now this book, and you're thinking like, what kind of little book here? Don't know nothing about it. If I say to you, we're not even 1 year old as yet, 11th of July, when it was published, and over 750 books sold. Not bad, eh? Not bad, not bad at all. And that is not even 1 year old. And I think, as in terms of an anthology, if you can imagine, there's 21 other women, and Danette Barrett is actually one of the authors in the book. She's actually currently online here now. If you can imagine, you're trying to manage 22 women, and everyone's thinking like, enough argument, seriously, none of that. If you have the right foundation, amazing things will happen. I'm not going to go into full details now, because this is something that I'm going to do on a workshop a little bit later on. Not today, but another time. More details will follow. But as I said, over 750 of these. That's not including the ebooks. Now, from this, you're thinking, little old book, what else could we do? Can you see this here, guys? 2020, we did a calendar. So, when we talk about marketing, so each person within the book, okay, a chapter each, and just wrote an inspirational quote. So we have a calendar, 2020 calendar that was produced. We also had a cookbook. You're thinking, what? There's cookbook, there's all sorts of merchandise, there's mugs, there's diaries, there's just loads and loads and loads of things. So it just doesn't stop at book. Okay. How am I doing for time? I don't know how I'm doing for time. I'm sure McConan will come in. So I'm not going to say too much more about that. I'm sort of like the last chapter in the book. I'm chapter 22. This T-shirt. There's just so many different things that have come out of this, and very much like what McConan said. You know what? If you do not understand that people buy into you, people are buying into you. When they say you are your brand, for real. Do you know what? I'm not a magnificent writer. There's 21 other ladies in here. Mine, I would say, is one of the weakest chapters. I'm a good leader. I'm a very good leader. Okay, so that's how that's come about. So please, I'm going to put the details in the chat. Currently, right now, this book on Amazon was initially £10.99, giving it away. If you go onto Amazon now, I'm going to put the details in the chat. It is currently £2.99. Please, please, please do not say to me, come tomorrow, oh D, it's gone up. Nothing to do with me. This is Amazon doing their thing. It's £2.82. We still get royalties. Okay, and the royalties from this book that are purchased on Amazon, okay, actually go into the community interest company. So that's why if you want to contact the individual authors to purchase so that they can get a percentage, that's absolutely awesome. But for me, this book here, it's a book of hope. It's a book of inspiration. This book now, I'm in a position to give to hospitals. Some books have gone into hospitals. Some books have gone into women's refuges. Some books have gone to people that are in need of just that. You know what? You could read a chapter here and it could be just what you need to read at a given time. There is no way anybody here could say, by reading this, that's my sister, that's my partner, that's my friend. You will recognize somebody in here. So that is that. Myself, Dee Bailey, as I said, Simply Dee's Events. I'm going to put the information in the chat. I also have my own talk show, very hard to believe, but I do. Talk show that I host once a month, always obviously looking for guests. So because we're online, it's global, get in contact. I could go on and on, but I'm not going to because it wouldn't be fair. And Vanika, you may not remember me, but I do remember you when you brought the black hair to Luton because I was supporting. And that's what it's all about, guys. If you can help and you can support, seriously, great things can happen. And for those people that think they can do it on their own, you're wrong. And maybe that's why you're not doing as well as maybe could be. You can't do it on your own. Yeah.
Okay, is that you, Dee?
Yes, it is.
Okay, thank you very much. That's Dee Bailey, the co-author, lead author of Life in a Lockdown 2020, Behind Closed Doors. One of the things I picked up from your speech is obviously, well, your book was written because of the COVID, directly as a result of the COVID pandemic, about the experience of these ladies with their life in a lockdown. And you know, it's about making out of a worse situation, is making something good out of a worse situation, which you've done in terms of writing a book. And this platform is a prime example of it, because had the COVID pandemic not happened, this platform, the Black Books webinar, would not be here, because it's because of the pandemic which which made me do the event online. And again, it very much wouldn't happen, or if it did, it would have been probably a low-key event just in Luton, where I lived at the time. So now I'm able to connect with authors from all over the world. So we've had Dr. LaTracy come on earlier, next, where he's not author, but he does courses, Leonard, and Leonard's in America, Florida. Latrina is from Mississippi. Marlene, we're going to hear later, from Jamaica. So making the best out of sometimes a bad situation. And this is exactly what this platform has done. And I'm privileged to have a lot of these authors or speakers from around the world. And our next speaker is ready, and it's Leonard. Now, Leonard does different courses for authors or other people that might be interested, but I'm going to let him explain a bit more about it. And he's joining us from Miami, Florida. So Leonard, if you would like to start and tell us exactly what you do and maybe how you can help some of our authors.
Hey everyone, I'm Leonard McDonald. I go by the Income Stream Savant. I am from Life Changing Authors. And you know how authors pour their souls and hearts and everything they have into writing a book, and they wind up not getting the results they deserve? You know, it's one of the things I've found in most authors' cases, where they just wind up in a place of not really understanding, and it really kind of kills their confidence. And so for those of you who don't know me, like, I will go to battle, like argue toe to toe with any and everyone over the fact that I believe authors are one of the most powerful people in the planet. You know, if you look at what an author does, you know, the impact authors have. You know, one of my mentors read a book, and his life completely shifted from the book that he read. And because his life shifted, he was able to shift mine. So an author has the power to touch so many people. They just don't always realize the power that they have. How many people have seen Black Panther? Let me know in the comments. How many people have seen the movie Black Panther? All right. Well, okay, there we go. Yep, yes. All right, Black Panther. It's one of my favorite Marvel movies. And if you look at the fights, there were 2 fights between T'Challa and M'Jadaka. Now, the fights were very close when you look at the amount of time that passed between the 2 fights. Yet, in the first fight, T'Challa was just completely obliterated. But in the second fight, T'Challa won. But there was like no training montage. There was no, like I said, no extended period of time in between it. So what was the difference? Why did the fight have a different outcome? And if you go back to T'Challa's fight with M'Baku, there was a moment where he heard, "Show him who you are." And he said, "I am T'Challa, son of T'Chaka." Now, when you look at that, he said, "I'm T'Challa." So why say son of T'Chaka? He had such high reverence and respect for his father that son of T'Chaka is what made being T'Challa relevant. Without that part, to him, he lacked the power. But after he said that, he came back, he beat M'Baku, and gained M'Baku's respect. Now, when you look at his second fight with M'Jadaka, it was a very completely different mindset. In the first fight, he was struggling, realizing what happened with his father and his uncle. He was like, "Who am I? I don't even know who my father was. I don't know." Like, there were all of these questions. And because he drew his power from his identity from within his father, he felt powerless, which is why he lost that fight. But when he came back for the second fight and he said, "I never yielded, and as you can see, I am not dead," it was a completely different battle from the start to the end, even though there was no difference. Their skill sets were still the same. They both had the heart-shaped herb, so no one had a new power source that gave them an advantage. But it's because he knew who he was. And it's my goal to help authors know who they are, because that's where you come now and gather that power, and it makes you take a completely different approach to what you do. So I feel like the very best thing that I can do to help you out is, because I don't have a long time, but grab a sheet of paper and a pencil and put Wakanda Forever in the chat when you've got it. And we are going to start the process of empowering you to go out and do what you were called to do. So just let me know when you've got that, because the truth is you guys are champions. But there's different levels of champion. We've got the conference finals going on right now in the NBA, getting ready to find out who's the new finals champion, because we've got new teams up there. Last night, there was a boxing match. There was a new champion in a new weight division. But in all of those cases, they were really just champions of themselves, because them being a champion doesn't really do anything for anyone else. But as an author, you are a champion for others. Other people look at you to be the person that's standing in the gap for them, the one that they can look up to take them where they're trying to go. So on the top of that, at the top of that piece of paper, I want you to write, "Who I write to empower." Who I write to empower. And then on the top of one side, I want you to put a male name. And on the top of the other side, I want you to put a female name. All right. Now, I am all in on psychographics. I think one of the most powerful things you can do when creating a customer avatar, which is what we're about to start the process of. But there's still an importance in regular demographics, So we're going to start out in the middle of the page. We're going to put an age range of who it is that's your customer, your perfect customer, the perfect person that you can help once they get their hands on your book. An age range, because in your 20s, you looked at life differently than in your 30s. In your 30s, you looked at life differently than in your 40s. So these things matter when you are finding out who it is that you're speaking to with your book. Who is your book the perfect fit for? You don't have to have it all out. I really just want you to the least, just have what it is that's supposed to go there. So age range, are they married, single, or divorced? You know, do they have kids? Do they not have kids? You know, where are they from? What's important to them? What are their values? What are they afraid of? What are their dreams? What are their dreams? I'm sorry if I'm going fast, just trying to keep in time. What are their dreams? What are their nightmares? What are their goals? Like this is these right here, this is who it is you're a champion to. Those two names, they represent a group of males and a group of females that you are a champion to. They're waiting for you to get to them or get in front of them so that you can then begin the healing process if they're going through something. If it's a financial thing that they need healing in, if it's a relationship thing, if it's a spiritual thing, they're waiting for you. Because my pastor did a sermon once, and he said, actually, I'm going to say it to you the way he said it to the congregation. On my very best day, in your absolute worst day, I can never be a better you than you, ever. So these people, they're waiting for you. I can't do anything for them. I can't do the most for them. I can't do for them what you can do for them because they're your customer avatar. They're waiting for you, not me. And I'll tell you, one of the things that drove me for a long time was looking at the fact that I knew people were waiting for me and that there were other people out there that couldn't do what I do, but would wind up putting them in a bad position. And so I got on my P's and Q's and I went to work, put my head down, blinders up, and I said, there are people waiting for me. So, still trying to stay on time, but this right here is the very crux of what you do with your book, who you're talking to, who your book is for. Let this be the thing that empowers you, because again, you are their champion. Just you, not me, not anyone else here, just you. So my question is, what are you going to do about it? You know, I'm going to put my link in the chat, but this isn't about my link. My link is here just for stuff I'm going to do for the next 2 days, opening up my calendar to do an empowerment session with you, just to get clarity on where you're trying to go, your goals, how you're going to get there. But whether you book the call or not, this is still what you need to do, because again, people are waiting for you. And if you're having questions about what it is that you're meant to do, what you're called to do, how you're going to get in front of people, like all of these questions, like it starts here. This is your why, right in front of you, that piece of paper with Dante and Sherry. There's a group of Dantes and a group of Sherrys that are waiting and depending on you. So again, my question is, what are you going to do about it? And I believe that's my time.
Okay, thank you very much. That was Leonard McDonald, and he's put his link in the Zoom chat as well. So Leonard is a sponsor of this event, so we'd like to thank you very, very much, Leonard, from Miami, Florida, and hopefully we'll see you. Don't be a stranger now, having to invite people. Hopefully we'll be seeing you on more of our Black Books webinars in the future. And there's 45 participants that have joined us, so keep your comments up, keep letting us know what you think of the Black Books webinar. And also, you know what, it's nothing to share for the next webinar. You'll be invited when the next webinar's on, the people that have attended. But also spread the word, you know, tell people, tell your friends, your family and other people, colleagues about it, so we can get more people and just keep building this platform, and it can just grow from strength to strength. Yeah, there's 45 people participants on. Imagine if everyone just told 3 people, brought 3 people into the next webinar, how many people would be on it? Which would be great, again, for our Black authors, giving them that extra exposure. So I'm going to go to our next speaker now, and we're going to be going to the beautiful island of Jamaica. I'm not sure exactly what part of Jamaica, but I know she is coming from Jamaica. She's written a Jamaican puzzle book. Marlene McPherson is now going to come on. So Marlene, if you just like to come on and just tell us what part of Jamaica you're currently in as well, and then tell us more about your puzzle book that you've written about Jamaica.
Okay, thank you. Thank you. Are you hearing me?
Yes, thank you. We can hear you loud and clear.
Great. I am Jamaican. I'm from Kingston, but presently I'm living in St. Thomas, one of the 14 parishes. The book I have is entitled About Jamaica. It is a puzzle book, and the aim of the book is to allow people to know about Jamaica in a fun way. They would be engaging doing the find the word puzzle. So within the book, there are different topics: the resources, the people in terms of sports personality, reggae artists, students who have excelled in their scholastic attainment, the different aspects of the educational system, tourist attractions, the different services that can be garnered from the government as well as private sector. And all of this is done in a way whereby you read, and as you read, you have puzzles. And it is done in a way whereby even a child can do it. It is simple to read, it's a quick reader, and it is interspersed with different colored pictures, which are historical. And these make the book really different from others. All right, so we have picture here, Port Royal, the ruins. And another thing too, which is important, is that although you do the quiz and you're wondering, man, am I correct? Is this one the correct way to draw through the grid? You have help, because at the back of the book, there are the solutions. Many people have used this book, and I've got great reviews about it. Another thing about it, which is important, is that as you read, you're getting so much information in bite sizes. And that is one of the likable things about this book. The patois, where a number of people want to know and even to talk, is there. And it is even done in a comical way with simple drawings that we can all relate to. So this book is one in which where you use it, you're at the airport, you're going out and you'll have some time on your hand, you can use it. So I'll recommend it. And it's a good gift too. It can be given to a child, it can be given to a tourist, and also for your personal development about talking about Jamaica. Here you have it in bite-sized pieces that you can enjoy and be engaged in. I should point out too that I am a retired educator, so I'm aware of different things and challenges that is said about the country. And from my traveling experience, I've traveled extensively because I enjoy traveling. I have seen where Jamaica as an island has a lot to give. And we as a people are just different. And we have been in different places, and we see that as Jamaicans, we have something to show and to boast about. And here we have it in this small package. Any questions?
Thank you very much, Marlene. If anyone's got any questions, please put them in the Zoom chat. I'm very much in agreement with you in terms of what you said about, you know, Jamaica, how much what's come out of the island. I mean, I've got Jamaican ancestry on my mom's side. My mom's family are from Jamaica. They're from, I think when I spoke to you, I mentioned it. They're from like Portland, Port Antonio, and Kingston. But in terms of what's come out of Jamaica, yeah, I mean, look at what's come out. I mean, Marcus Garvey, one of the great leaders or heroes, Jamaican national hero. He came out of Jamaica. You had Bob Marley, Usain Bolt has come out of Jamaica.
Good.
Before that, Yasafa Powell, and also the Rastafari movement, which is massive, massive globally around the world. My book, The Rise of Rastafari, Resistance, Redemption, and Repatriation. Obviously, you'll find out all about the Rastafari movement in my book. But these are just some of the great things that have come out of that small island where it's influenced the whole world in so many different in different areas. So I definitely understand exactly what you're saying in terms of what's come out of that small, because a lot of people as well, whenever you go to Africa or whatever, when I went to Gambia, they think, a lot of people think, or in America, think Jamaica is like a big place because of like because of people they know from Jamaica or reggae artists or whatever, they think it's a big place. When you explain to them, it's a small, tiny little island, a little dot on the map, but so much has come from out of that island of Jamaica. So I could completely get where you're coming from. What I want you to know, Marlene, the best way to if you want to get a copy of that book from Marlene is to send her email. So if she put your email in the Zoom chat, then you can arrange and you can let them know the best way if people are interested in getting a copy of your book.
Another way too, I have IG account,
Okay.
Marlene on relationship. It's there, all information is there too, so they can get contact me through IG.
Through IG, yeah, okay. If you put that in the Zoom chat for them, then people can look at it. So you just type that message in there. Yeah, someone's already asked what is your Marlene email address for info and getting the book. So someone's interested. Right, is there anything else, Marlene, from you before I bring in our next author?
Well, the thing about it is this, you have done a wonderful job a while ago speaking about these artists. It comes as though you have got a read of the book. These and more are in this book. And I really thank you for what you have just said. So you have got to definitely know what to expect in this book.
Oh, wow.
And again, too, any number of books can be had. It's easy postage and people are getting it.
Wow, sounds like a wonderful book. Thank you, Marlene, for featuring on the Black Books webinar. We wish you all the success with your book. So now we're going to go on to our next speaker, Stephen Graham. I'm going to explain it, talk a little bit about it before I bring Stephen Graham on. So I met Stephen Graham when I was actually invited to speak about Rastafari and my book on a platform with Andrew Muhammad, the investigator. He's got a platform called The Hidden Truth. And I came on and I spoke about my book and Rastafari, and Stephen Graham, he was also speaking on that platform, and I was just so impressed with the way that he presented himself and he delivered it. And when I found out all the stuff that he's done in terms of several documentaries that I can't count, the amount of books he's written, and all the other things that when I checked up the stuff that he's done, I was just so taken back and impressed. So I invited him to come onto this platform. So I'm gonna let him come on now and speak. So Stephen Graham, if you would just like to unmute yourself and then talk about your books and briefly mention it as well, some of the other stuff you do.
Can you hear me clearly?
Yeah, you're all good. I can hear you.
All right, beautiful. Everyone can hear me clearly. Cool. I just said my name is Stephen Graham. I must not say enough respect to Sister Marlene. That was really beautiful. I'm a documentary filmmaker. I've made 19 documentaries. I just want to quickly briefly give you an understanding of who I am. Why? I'm going to do that because the book I'm going to talk about, that's into my life. So I want to give you a picture of who I am today to really understand what the book's about. Today I'm a documentary filmmaker. I've made 19 documentaries. Some of my documentaries have over 300,000 views. I've made documentaries around Jordan, Morocco, Palestine, Egypt, Lebanon, America. I've actually done gangs work in Chicago. And I'm also an author of 3 books. And I work with young people. I work with youth and families, traumatized young people and families. I teach martial arts, and I do various other things in the community to help young people. I do music as well, productions. The purpose of me doing that was because I want to give back to the community, especially coming from a very troubled background myself. Undoubtedly, Jamaica is a very special place indeed. The book I'm going to talk about is tied to this book, which is my life, because today a lot of people see me as a documentary filmmaker and an author and of other book called I'm a Gun, which actually was really well taken back in 2013. A lot of people talk about that book, and they say, you know, that book I turned to a documentary with a Carla on it and Leo Muhammad and quite a few people, Andrew Muhammad's on it, and that documentary went really well. But I think it's important that people understood who I am as a person, more than just see me as a filmmaker, this guy that makes all these documentaries. And it's all my documentaries I've done, everything I do is self-funded by myself. You know, the most I open the way and I get to do what I got to do. So it's all done by myself. Ain't no one funding me to travel around the world. No one funds me to make my books. I do everything myself. And what it is this book is titled called Incarceration JA. As a youth, I was born here in the UK, but I went through a very traumatic experience as a young youth, which again, a lot of people go through trauma. Trauma is a massive thing in our society, in our community. One thing we have never been taught about in society and in the community is how to deal with emotions. It's something we never learn in schools. And I say this over and over again, and I go into depth in my book. We don't learn how to deal with emotions, and we don't learn how to deal with anger. It's not something that's really taught. There's no education system that teaches that. So for me, in my book, what it led me to do was to actually express myself and talk about the things I went through. As a young person, I went through a lot of trauma in the UK because of situation with my stepfather. That's the mind, I'm also a Jamaican background. My real father plus a mother. But I'm a very mixed Jamaican background. We have Jamaican, as some people say, call it Coolie, Jamaican Indian, as well as Jamaican Syrian. So my family is very different family. So my family, my family, so I have a very mixed background. I knew a lot about my history as a youth growing up, but I didn't really take it in too much of account. As today, you see a lot of young people get caught up in a lot of issues and situations of society that society brings upon us. And sadly, in the homes, a lot of us don't really understand how to deal with the situations that goes on with our young people and what they're exposed to. So I wrote my book really to express to young people and express to families and parents, you know, what really goes on in the behind closed doors of an individual and a young person. As a young youth myself, I was kicked out of various high schools. I was in a lot of problems, and I was on the streets, as people call it, gang violence. I don't really use the term gang, that's a very political word, but it's not a place to go into right now. But my book, I do break it down. And I was incarcerated the first time at the age of 15 in Jamaica as an English youth. I was that wild as a young boy in England. I was sent to Jamaica as a little boy. I'm sent to Jamaica to get away from all the troubles over here, but it only spiraled for me when I went out to Jamaica. I ended up getting worse. My family's from a place called East Kingston, and my mom didn't want me there, so she sent me to St. Anne to live. And things didn't work out because where she sent me, I wasn't comfortable. You know, again, I was young, didn't know how to do my emotions. So I ended up going to, I ended up being amongst the people I didn't want to be with. So that spiraled me to go into more street activities. And of course, my what do you say, that road to badness escalated. So I was sent back to England 19. My mom died on me that time. And that again spiraled me out of control. So when I was back in England, I spent 2.5 years in this country. I tried to control my emotions at that time, but like I said, I didn't really look at myself. I mean, we live in a very fast society. A society that's very fast going. You know, everything is always on everything's always constantly moving. You know, we live in a very fast society. Everyone's always focused on money, focused on everything else. But like I said, we never focus how to deal with our emotions. We're not taught that. And we're not actually rewarded that as a free gift, you know, to think about who are you, what are your purpose in life. So me speeding like everybody else, you know, I sped to my destruction. And I had to leave England and go back to Jamaica, where then I got caught up in some past situations. I ended up got caught up for a murder charge, up to manslaughter. And from there, I it dropped to, I got 15 years. I ended up doing 8 in Jamaica prison. Well, the penal system in Jamaica isn't like the UK at no time at all, you know. It's very hard, it's very rough. And again, it's like a cesspool of destruction. But within the prison, I found time to reflect on myself, like people like Brother Malcolm X done, Mandela, not to put myself in the same category, but just referring to the time to reflect. I took it in prison. And it's not, I'm not saying, again, in my book, I make it very clear, I'm not saying a person has to go to prison to reflect, but I'm showing the importance of the way we view life, view self, and view who we are. A lot of us even fail to even realize that this DNA of our own blood is the DNA of our ancestors. But we seem to be looking so far for all the answers that we need, when we can just look within. You know, answers never leave you. But as a youth growing up, you know, like I said, I wasn't really taught that. It's easy to say it, but it's so hard to do it in a society like this. So in prison, I did a lot of time to meditate, which is what I do young people, and I work with young people now. I encourage them to meditate, encourage them to reflect. Also encourage them to talk about their emotions, because when I was a little boy, I didn't talk about my feelings. But then again, we live in a society we're very judgmental. So people don't like to talk even to family members about what's going on, because sometimes before your family members help you or support you, they may put you down before they give you, or they want to give you a, you know, they call it a mouthful or an earful before they help you. But that also destroys psychologically, it has an effect on our minds, you know, so it makes us feel a bit small in ourselves. And, you know, so my book, I address these situations that I went through and that a lot of people go through in society. And these are all contributing factors to acting why people act out of character. You may see adults even doing things that are just, some people may say inappropriate, but then instead of judging, do we really understand what happened with that individual's life? And this is what my book really looks at. My book looks at, because so much people look at me and say, oh, you've done so much in society, you do so much today for yourself. You know, you travel around the world, make documentaries. I was invited to Chicago. You know, I was actually, for a person with my record, it was an honor to actually film the congressman. I can find on my channel. You know, I worked with different gangs out there. I work with a lot of street youths over here in the UK, but it's you know, doing these things are honor, but at the same time, I always try to tell people the most important thing, the most greatest honor you can ever have is to actually have honor of self. Like, you know, to really love yourself and to aspire to be the best you can be. You know, that self-mastery. I mean, it's not an overnight thing, but it's something that definitely we need to look towards. So my book's really about me reflecting on things. That's why I call it Incarceration JA, a self-reflective analyst of my life. So I reflect upon my life, I reflect on all the things I've done, you know, getting done for robbery as a youth. And at the age of 15, I was done for armed robbery. You know, I wasn't, like I said, I wasn't the average child. I did what the average child wouldn't do that on the streets today. I would do the violence and beyond. I was that kind of guy. But then I had a lot of issues in my personal life. I was psychologically abused by my stepfather, you know, put down to be like less than nothing. And a lot of people would, you know, my mother didn't really know much about what's going on because I never spoke. I kept my mouth shut. I didn't like to talk how I felt. But then that also mimicked in my actions, because they say a theory is a theory until it becomes proven a fact. But with myself, I didn't speak my emotions, so it became a fact. So I ended up becoming that person who would actually go out and, you know, do things similar ways like my father done to me. So yeah, I went through a lot as a young person, which I disclose a lot. I talk about a lot in my book, and I give a lot of answers, you know, just to let people understand. In society, we have to be very careful how we deal with each other, even things we say to each other. You know, just look at the small things that a person even says to a child. You know, sometimes we just say silly things like, you know, what we call silly things, we might say to a child, you're so silly, stop being stupid. It's similar, small things we say have an effect, because we have to understand the vibration and frequencies. As spiritual people, African people, we understand there's a vibration frequency to everything that we do and everything we say, and everything there's life. So, you know, what you say and what you do has a massive impact on how you know, people reciprocate what you're saying to them. So this is what my book's really about really coming to grips of, you know, the things that we physically see before us, that are destroying us and tearing us down, and the things, you know, that we don't see, because the unseen is more powerful than seen. You get me? So my book's really about that. I'm just really dissecting my own personal experiences that I've been through, like the robberies, the thefts, and everything I've done, that all that I can speak of course, without incriminating myself. But all those things, and you know, bring it to the forefront and explaining why I was in this predicament and why I did what I done. You know, just really looking at, because we look at the young kids today, what they're doing. A lot of people judge them, a lot of people, you know, put them down, and they may not be doing things right, but what is the trigger behind their actions? And this is what we don't look at. We look at, oh, that child's a victim, but this person's, you know, he's an aggressor. But then when people really like, a lot of people, when they really understand my story, then I was talking to somebody recently, a psychologist, was very on board of, he's very prone to speak of, you know, victims and victims and victims. But then he looked at me and said to me, by you telling me what you really been through, I realized you was a victim too. I said to him, but then so many young people out here are also victims. So it's not, I'm not saying we can't, you know, I'm not saying we can't say what someone's doing isn't right, but it's about really looking to understand why they're doing what they're doing, what caused them to that, because this is the situation we've got right now currently in the UK. We have a lot of youth violence, and it's not just here, it's in America, happened in Jamaica. We look back even in Jamaica, sister said Jamaica is a beautiful place. When I grew up in Jamaica, when I first started growing up in Jamaica, I could go from Kingston to Mobay without even a penny. You know, but we got to look at the political structure that's being set for our people to get our people into the position we are today. You know, now you can't go from nowhere. Jamaica people want to stop their cars for you, but why? You know, it is what they call the Island of the Sun. It's a beautiful place, which has with Jamaica, as I spoke about in my book, it is actually truly one of the leading forefront places for our, you know, our redemption, for our rise of our people. We look at, they mentioned Marcus Garvey. I talk about in my book. They mentioned, but a lot of people talk about people like Dirty Bookman. You know, these are important individuals that played a role even in the Haitian Revolution. I mean, there's a lot of things that happened to us, both in not just in UK, but in America and in Jamaica, that I refer to in my book, that it's a systematical construct that's not just today, it's actually been going on for a hot period of time. And all these things affected my life, and it's affected generations before me. You know, but we don't seem to see a lot of people don't seem to fully acknowledge the link. If they did, I think there'd be less judgment placed upon the young people, even upon the adults who are acting out of character, are more, I wouldn't say empathy, but more understand the spiritual warfare that's taking place. And I think when we really get that grip upon our thought pattern, we'll then see a different change in, you know, the way things happen. You get me? Like, and this was what my book really wants to address, to just the traumas that we go through, because we've experienced a lot of traumas as a people. You know, a lot of traumas, not just, we got religious traumas, we got psychological traumas, we got ancestral trauma. You know, I've experienced all those situations, and so has many other people. You know, so it's just important that I feel we have to really come to the grips of, you know, who we are, and really just look at our community in a different way still. So that was the purpose of me writing my book, because I wanted to show people that, you know, I'm not just this guy that's, you know, who's walking this path and making these books and, you know, doing documentaries and traveling the world, and, you know, it's all fun and joy, which is fun and joy. You know, I'm happy the person I am today, and I've learned how to deal with my traumas. I understand how to deal with my situation that I was I had been through, you know, and how to conduct myself today. But then there are many who, you know, with all respect, go to their grave and then never dealt with their emotions. There are many still today, you know, maybe even doing things in the community, but still have their emotions or their traumas that they're fighting. And it's about, how do we handle the traumas, and how do we, you know, express these traumas, or should I say, how do we control these traumas that we don't express them in a negative fashion? And these are important things, you know, because again, if we follow the society route, it takes us down another road where it talks about, you know, pills and psychotherapy, no disrespect to psychotherapy, but I'm looking at, let's deal with it. How do we deal with it psychologically for ourselves? How do we deal with our own situations and our troubles? And this is what my book really addresses, you know, the things that I went through. 8 years experience in Jamaica prison, not to mention things I went through as a youth, but then to turn around and now make loads of documentaries, travel the world, you know, help young people, families, do a lot of charity work. I do a lot of things, and it's on my website. And I don't really like talk much about what I do, I just do, you know, but it's just about really like, how do we get from where we are today, and where do we see ourselves tomorrow? But if we're gonna continue, if our people don't fully understand the traumas that we've been through, you know, understand really understand the traumas, the level of traumas that we've been through as a people, you know, it's gonna always hinder a lot of growth, spiritual growth, you know. And like I state in my book, the systems design that to keep us focusing and functioning at a lower vibration. You know, where my book and I believe that, you know, we are supposed to be at a higher vibration, you know, and a more spiritual vibration. You know, we're supposed to be elevated in certain, you know, certain remits. So for me, it's like, yeah, this is what my book really addresses. It touches deep into my stories. I went from Jamaica prison. I was attempted. I was a couple attempts of my life that took place in prison, but I would say because I learned to, you know, I had to do things to protect myself in prison. But what it was is because I learned to love myself and trust myself, which I didn't understand how to love myself as a youth. I ended up leaving prison as not. I don't like to use the word like a top man, but I left prison with a lot of respect. I won a lot of respect from people, not just because I could handle myself for violence, but because the way I learned to conduct myself in a very harsh situation, I learned to conduct myself in a different way, you know. So that was what actually helped lift myself up and allowed me to know that, you know, when you change your vibration, you change the way you perceive life, you know, your perception of life. You also can change the dynamics of things around yourself too. And I didn't really understand that as a youth. Like I said, no one ever taught me how to deal with my emotions as a little boy, which is why I put so much of this into my book, so people can understand how that we need to get grasp of our emotions, you know, and start raising our vibration. And it allowed me in prison to really turn my life around and become a different person. Before I left prison, you know, I had a lot. I got a lot. I had a lot of respect in prison, both from prisoners and wardens. Like it was a crazy thing. I went in there, you know, as a foreigner still, but and just like just an ordinary guy. I had to fight for my rights, for my survival in there, because it's not easy, you know. But when I left there with maximum respect from a lot of, like, what they call top shotters. You know, a lot of people had a lot of respect for me. And like I said, it wasn't just because I could handle myself, you know, which I can defend myself, but it wasn't because of that. It was because the way I conducted myself. And I used to talk to them about history and culture. And, you know, I did a lot of reading as well while I was in there. I read the Bible, whole Bible twice in there. I taught myself to read Hebrew when I was in prison. So that also made a lot of people say to me, you know, look at me different as well. Because, yeah, I kind of did something that no one was really doing, you know, but I learned to master me and become, you know, my best. I know it became my best, you know, my best friend. I learned to love myself, which I didn't before as a little youth. I didn't love myself, you know, and what I thought of love for myself wasn't really love for myself, you know, where, you know, that's natural in society. A lot of people look external more than internal for their love. And even when we do say we internally love ourselves, do we truly? So that was really me, you know. So yeah, that's just really what my book's about, Incarceration JA. You can get this book on Amazon, or my website, which is stephengrahamproject.com. And yeah, that's just really basically just me giving just a little brief introduction to myself.
Okay, Stephen, thank you very much. I mean, that was your story was so inspirational on so many levels about how you change yourself. And I said there's a lot of great works you're doing in the community of your documentaries. And I know it must have been hard being particularly a young boy in Jamaica in prison, but being seen as a foreigner as a young boy in prison in JA in Jamaica. So yeah, man. Yeah, a lot of respect for you. So I'm now going to go on to our next speaker. Our next speaker is YL Phillip, and she's going to speak about her book In My Father's Eyes. So YL Phillip, please unmute yourself and come on and talk to us about your book.
Hello, sorry. My name is Yvonne Phillip. I am the author of In My Father's Eyes, Don't Let Our Mothers Bury Us. I am a wife, I'm a mother, I am a sister, I am a grandmother, I am a granddaughter, and I'm an aunt, and I'm a daughter of a caring, loving, persistent, resilient, strong woman, a motivator, a good leader who taught us to love each other and to look after each other. I have adopted many of my mom's characteristics, and I'm very proud of that. I love my family and I thank them wholeheartedly for their support throughout my journey. Family, forwards, onwards and forwards we go. I am a retired nurse, a midwife, a health visitor, and a teacher. I've worked with parents for over parents and families for over 40 years, but I'm now retired. My book was published in last year, October, by Marcia M. Spence of Publishing House, and it's an academy now, and her wonderful team. Thank you, Dawn Spence, and thank you, Jay Carlisle, for mentoring me. Big up, Jay Carlisle. Okay. Well, I love writing, and I'm deeply inspired by storytelling, by spoken words. And it is really my love, passion, and concern for young people that inspired me to write this book. As you already know, gun and knife crime has reached an unprecedented level in the UK. It is described as of an epidemic proportion. That means it's widespreading, it's rampant, and it's of great concern. It was only last week that I heard a police officer from the Met say that this year is going to be the worst year for homicides among young people. And this is quite worrying. I'm very concerned about that. Major concern, really. Do you know that many young people, as young as 14, are losing their lives by this crime? It is so worrying. It's scary, really. And I'm sure you'd agree that it's not only a local problem, it's not only a national problem, it's a global problem, and it's our problem. My book is intended to create an awareness about the dangers and consequences of knife crimes, and young people using those knives and guns to commit crimes. It also addresses the devastating effects on individuals, on families, and friends, and a whole community. So it affects so many people. This book aims to empower young people to make good choices. I must say that my sympathy are with anyone who's affected by gun and knife crimes or any violent crimes. There is no intention to mirror anyone's experience, but I need to create an awareness. I need to just to reinforce that this is a problem and it needs to be dealt with by all of us, really. So In My Father's Eyes, Don't Let Our Mothers Bury Us is dedicated to my sister, Helen Phillip Tyson, who passed away in 2019. She's forever in our hearts. This novel, it is a novel, it is fiction, is a hard-hitting teenage psychological novel based in the East End of London, where gun and knife crime and gang culture is rife. It's fiction, but it is thought-provoking. I've used creative means to express the thoughts of young people, the frustrations. I wanted to tell their story. So in my book, In My Father's Eyes, Don't Let Our Mothers Bury Us, a prolific gang torments a community and a young person is fatally shot. Ardy, the protagonist, is imprisoned. He's a crump and grime artist. He's imprisoned by mistaken identity, but he spends a period of time in prison where he meets Reggie, who's a reflective, funny, but very influential character. And with counseling, enables Ardi to change his life around. It helps him to discover himself and enable personal change. I wanted to let young people know that they are valued, that they are loved, and their life is really precious, and they should value each other's lives. But I also wanted to let them know that the choices that they make and the consequences of those choices might have an impact on each other. So young people, if you're listening, fam, the choices you make will determine what the consequences are for your actions. So please, please make good and wise choices. But I must stress though, that ultimately the responsibility lies on the person who carries the gun and decides to use it. So in writing my book, I acknowledge that young people face many challenges, many challenges, especially in these turbulent times, as this might be a motivating factor for their crimes. Challenging factors such as inequalities in health, in education, in social care, inequalities of opportunities, poor parenting, peer pressure, lack of assertiveness, lack of love, maybe a lack of a role model, or emulating or copying somebody else who is involved in gun and knife crimes. I must say though also that poverty, I think, could be a major factor as well, as many young people may not have the opportunity to lift them out of poverty. Where do they go? Where do they get their food from? Do they go to neighbors? Do they depend on kind people like Marcus Rashford? Or do they go to the drug barons who offer them £500 maybe to cross county lines at the age of 13, 14? But I must say that, I must reiterate that gun and knife crime is a major concern. It's important though, I must say, that not all young people are perpetrators. Many are motivated, they're determined to live a fulfilled life. Some are entrepreneurs, and I do really commend them. However, some young people may not be violent, but they might carry a knife to protect themselves or protect their ones. So we need to be aware of that. We need to be mindful and acknowledge that they face real fears, and we need to take that seriously. And we need to work with them, with your families, with the police, with agencies rather, to ensure that they're safe. It's important that young people are kept safe. As a mother, a grandmother, a teacher, a midwife, a health visitor, who is concerned about the future of my children, my grandchildren, other people's children. Some children I might have delivered about 30 years ago. So like many parents, grandparents, carers, I worry every time the children leave the house, knowing that we don't know what fate awaits them really. Will they be victims? Will they be perpetrators because they're defending themselves? We're constantly praying for our children. So I really wanted you to hear a balanced side of gun and knife crimes. I wanted the reader to hear the child's voice. I think often children's voices are not always listened to or heard. We take the voices for granted. So I wanted to be the enabler, the advocate, that messenger who provoke their thoughts and encourage them to love, have empathy for each other. I show how RD develops a trusting relationship with Reggie, as I said before. I address love and lack of love between a father and his son. Then that is RD and his father, the protagonist RD and his father. I ask you as an audience, can RD love his father if there's no trust? Or can he trust his father if there's no love? Trust is something that's earned through actions, and therefore RD's father challenges that. So I want you, the audience, the reader, to hear what young people are saying through RD, the protagonist. And I will read an excerpt from the book. What's happening to me? What am I becoming? He asked. His attention is averted to the disgusting, loud, churning noise resonating from his stomach, along with some painful cramping sensation, which forces him to sit on the toilet bowl. RD has to visit the toilet several times, and because of this, he feels he has a valid reason not to attend school. He sits on the edge of the bed and looks at a family photograph, and he looks at himself in the mirror again. He raps in anger. I hate the whole world. I hate all of you. Stop looking at me. I hate you too. You look at me through a microscope. You look at me as if I have no hope. You look at me in disgust. You look at me as if you have no trust. I hate the whole world. I hate all of you. Stop looking at me. I hate you too. Let me explore the things before me. Let me be who I want to be. Let me say yes if I want to. Leave me alone when I'm feeling blue. I hate the whole world. I hate all of you. Stop looking at me. I hate you too. RD points at his picture. He opens a drawer, pulls a gun. He points to it. He points towards the picture. I hate you too. He hollers. He presses places the gun at his right temple. Brah, 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 brah. He shouts. So I've brought to the forefront, apart from what I've discussed, I've also brought to the forefront the issue of domestic violence. Domestic abuse, as it's called now, is a problem. It's prevalent in our society, and it shouldn't be tolerated. So RD and his mother are affected by domestic violence. Also, I have
Right, can you just start to wrap it up now?
Okay, I will do. Okay, I mean, there are other issues that I've brought up, like intergenerational work. I've used intergenerational work as a solution to get young people and old people working together, addressing the problem, having purposeful dialogues, and helping to create a safe and cohesive community. So to wrap up, I would say, to round off, I would like to mention that faith is a staple theme in this book, in that the scripture tells us that we should walk by faith and not by sight. This can be very difficult, especially in this turbulent times, these very difficult times at the moment. It can feel, well, can feel difficult when, well, there's no light. It doesn't seem like there's no light at the end of the tunnel of this vicious cycle that we're in at the moment. The scripture tells us to love one another or love our neighbors as ourselves. If we can't love our neighbors, how can we love ourselves? So I believe in the importance of faith as it reinforces compassion, thoughtfulness, empathy, and love. I believe there's hope. To conclude, I believe there is hope and a better future for young people. Young people have the power to bring about change. So I just must say that this book is a testament of that. Thank you so much for listening. I'm Yvonne Philip, writer of In My Father's Eyes, Don't Let Our Mothers Bury Us. Thank you.
Okay, that was YJ Philip, In My Father's
YL.
Eyes. I always don't know why I say YL Philip, sorry. YL Philip, In My Father's Eyes. Her book is on Amazon. The publisher, Marcia M. Spence, who's been on our platform before. So our next speaker is one of the sponsors of the Black Books webinar. She's been on our platform before. She's also from Mississippi in the United States of America. She is the CEO of the Mississippi Speaker Connection, and she's actually going to be hosting her authors event coming up very, very soon. In July, I believe it's the 17th of July. So Latrina is going to come on to speak about her upcoming event that she's got going on. So Latrina, if you'd like to talk to us about this event you've got coming up.
Okay, well, good afternoon over there. It's good morning still here. Well, it's good afternoon now. I guess it's good evening where you are. As you know, my name is Latrina McCarty. Before I get into the Mississippi Speaker Connection and the event that we have coming up, I want to take a pause right now to just share with you who I am. And I'll start right here. My journey. When, why, how, what, who, and where. My journey began when I fell in love with reading. When did that happen? It didn't happen to me until I was in the 6th grade. And by the 6th grade, let me show you what I was reading. I don't know if you guys are familiar with Danielle Steele. Yeah, I was reading Danielle Steele love novels in the 6th grade. So about 7th grade, my imagination went wild. And of course, I was able to do what? Mimic some of it, not all of it. But I had to fall in love with reading before I guess what? Fell in love with writing, the journaling process. Why? Now, when I was in early on in school, no one ever asked me, hey, what is your why? What is your purpose? No one ever asked me that. So I created it all by myself. Oh yeah, I was like, well, when I graduate from high school, I want to move on to college. I'm going to meet my husband in college. We're going to have 2.5 children. We're going to have a dog and a white picket fence, and we're going to live happily ever after. Did that happen? Well, for about 14 years, I enjoyed that life. But my husband passed away when we were both 39. And at the time, my children were 7 and 13. I was a single mom. Again, no one asked me my why. I was just living day to day, doing a mom thing. But no one asked me that. So I had to regroup. Of course, that wasn't my life anymore. How? For me, once I recognized my why, how was I going to embrace it? How was I going to display it to those who may need to hear it, especially being a widow? There were other young widows out there, I'm sure. My goal was not to get rich. Of course, everyone wants to get rich. But my goal primarily was to do what? For someone else to learn from my experience in such a way that it does what? It changed lives. What tools? That means my gifts and my talents. What were the tools that I was going to use in order to do what? Be able to convey my message. I learned early on to be a journalist. I was writing. Oh yeah, I was writing. Later, I became an educator, an author, a playwright, and now a public speaker. And by the way, I don't know if you guys are familiar with Oprah Winfrey, but when I was younger, high school, I was going to be the next Oprah. Oh yeah, I was going to get her job. The next thing we want to talk about is the who. Now, last week, I don't know if you guys are familiar with Clubhouse. Clubhouse, I stroll. I build my audience. I connect with people from around the world. So someone told me yesterday, as you reveal who you are, you heal. As you reveal, you heal. I'm like, that is so powerful. I strongly believe, like wine, we become better in time. I strongly believe that you will continue to learn, continue to find innovative ways to perhaps market yourself, build your brand with time. The other day, I heard a Dr. George Fraser say this, and he's 70 plus years old. He said, I really didn't begin to live until I was 50. And then he moved on to his 60 years, then he moved on to 70 and how he is thriving. I'm like, yeah, because at 30, 30-ish, I was like bumping my head again. I was like, ooh, was I ready for this? Was I even ready to be a parent or definitely a mom? So my thing is, don't try to figure everything out. At some point, we need to sit back and do what? Enjoy the journey, okay? Because everyone has their own journey. Where should you begin in your journey? As an author, write where you are. Write and write some more. It doesn't matter if your writing is not, paper and pencil. I'm sitting down at my computer. It can simply be through what? Social media. Build those relationships out there. It's true. Now you have some frauds out there, some scammers. But for the most part, as an author, what you're trying to do, write. So what did we just talk about? We talked about the 5 W's and the 1 H, and that's all I do. I'm a school teacher. I teach high school English. And so my students, every time we come in, every time we write something, it doesn't matter if it's like a response to a piece of music we just heard. One of my students said, we know, the 5 W's and the 1 H method, we know. So what do you do? Let me just recap on what I just said. When did I fall in love with reading? Or when did I fall in love with writing? The why. Once you recognize your purpose, the how to display your message, what, and how would you convey those messages to the world? Use your gifts and your talents. Who, as you reveal, you heal. And of course, where? Every day, you're going to engage in what? Some type of enhancement to do what? Continue to do what? Continue to ride that train of, okay, what's my purpose? Okay, I talk about Danielle Steele. I have so many books in the library. And then I came across, her name is Kim. I call her Kim Yobi. I don't know if you guys are even familiar with her. She's dynamic. And of course here, you're constantly writing and you're constantly reading. And of course, we all know Terry McMillan. And of course, we know who. You guys know this, right? Yes. So again, you're reading and you're writing. That's what you're constantly doing. As a result of your work, because I'm a firm believer in it. Everybody needs to be schooled. They just do. Once you get to that point, and then guess what? Then your product, what you got going on. And I wish I can share this with you. My internet is really crappy, and I had a whole PowerPoint presentation that I'm reading from prepared for you. But hopefully, perhaps, if some of you guys want to reach out, I can send it to you. I have no problem with that. Just send me your email, and I will just definitely email the entire presentation to you, so you of course, can use these tools as well. Okay. Along the journey of my healing, guess what I did? I ended up using my gifts and talents. So this was the first stage play that I actually wrote. The first play I ever wrote, I think it's 6 acts. It is 6 acts in this play. Even though it was written in 2014, it didn't come to the stage until 2019. So 2019, guess what? We had a full-blown production. It was dynamic. And of course, it is available. You can YouTube, LGN Productions, just look me up. And it's free. I just, first it was a charge, but I was like, this play is so powerful. It was so fun doing it. But I'm just gonna let Tyler Perry do that right there, because it's a lot of work. The next thing, I continue to write plays. So this right here, I went, even though I have a couple degrees, I wanted to go back to school to enhance my what? As a school teacher, I have to do that anyway. So I have to keep my credentials up. So what I did was I took a class strictly on stage plays. It was creative writing. And so we had to use our creativity for a final project. And what I decided to do is write a 1-act stage play. So this is what I did. This is the first one. It's a series too. So this is the first one, and all of this is available on Amazon as well. Now, these are not in production. We did not create a cast for this, but this is actually written material. The first one was called Just a Little Sunshine, the first book of the first stage, that we're gonna call it playbook of the series. The next one is Only a Shadow. And the last one is After the Rain. Now, as you heal, especially my process here, I use my imagination. A lot of what I write is based on true information. Of course, I add my imagination to it to make it, gee, I can't put this book down. This is so good. Trina, when's the next one's coming out? I'm like, really? Thank you. But it's a lot of work. It is a lot of work, but it's all worth it at the end. So we have those stage plays, and all of those are available on Amazon. Now, let's talk about this right here. This is my first novel. Yeah, it's a picture of me on there. Again, everything I write is based on true events, and it's called Olivia's Journey, because my thing is we all have our own journeys. Let me tell you a little bit about what this book is all about. Let me just tell you a little bit about it. Based upon true events, this fictional novel will captivate anyone who is aspiring to begin again. I believe solely, even though your experience or your journey may not be so much of mine, there's a takeaway that everyone can get by reading anyone's piece of work, sincerely. Olivia finally believes she is ready for a relationship. She has been a widow for years now, and her children are finally young adults. Her businesses are thriving. However, she notices that her loss has created a void in her heart. Oh, she thinks that. From the very first page to the end, the reader experiences the highs and lows as Olivia embraces who she is, and she learns to trust again, perhaps. It is my hope that readers will relate to Olivia, embrace Olivia's journey as their own. Again, this is the book, and it is available wherever you can purchase online. Walmart, Target, Barnes and Noble, and of course through Amazon as well. And if you Google it, you'll be able to find it on many, many platforms. And I didn't know that the publishing company that I worked with did that, but it was amazing. Now, one thing I was able to do, I was able to have book signings. Since Barnes and Nobles picked it up, I was able to have book signings at that particular store. And what I did, since I live here on the Mississippi Gulf Coast, there's so many of those stores around. And so what I did was, guess what? I had book signings everywhere. I went to Louisiana, a couple of stores in Louisiana. I did Alabama. I did Florida.
Hey, Latrina, I'm just letting you know you only got 3 minutes left to talk about your
Are you
event.
serious? Oh my God.
Yeah. So I don't want you to get too carried away with all the book. I know you want to speak about your event as well. So.
And also with Olivia's Journey, I created a group called My Journey. And last year we had a virtual connection. This year we're going to actually be on site, and the group of ladies are going to get together, and we are going to have a fantastic time. Now let's get on to Mississippi Speaker Connection. And before I do that, of course, as a school teacher, we did an anthology project. So I had 24 ninth graders who actually write, they're co-authors now, and they did everything from the beginning to the end, from creating their own graphic work here. This is incredible too, to all of it. So I was so proud of them. So the next thing we're gonna do, the last thing we're gonna do is talk about Mississippi Speaker Connection. Basically what we do, we are a collaborative network. And what we do is the mission of the entire organization is to speak your why. So you're speaking your why as it relates to any given topic. July is our month focused solely on what? We're gonna be focused solely on authors. Right now we have about 9 or 10 authors willing to come to the stage and present what? Their why, present their book. So how do you contact us? Simply through email. Email us at msspeakercon, C-O-N, at gmail.com. So we have msspeakercon@gmail.com. So what you do, once you send us an intent letter, what we'll do is send you out an informational sheet. And what I like about this particular platform is you'll be invited to come to the stage. There is a fee. You have to invest in yourself. But with it, you'll receive a masterclass. And with that masterclass, guess what you do? Everything I just talked to you about, you'll learn. Thank you so much for having me.
Okay, thank you. That's Latrina Graves McCarty. You can put for your details in the Zoom chat if anyone wants to contact you about your event for authors that you've got going on next month in July. So our next author, we're staying in the United States of America. Well, I'm not sure exactly what state she's in. She can explain what state she's in, exactly her location. But we're going to go to Samantha Barnes, and Samantha Barnes' book is From Failure to Glory. So Samantha, if you would like to unmute yourself and come on, please.
Hello and good afternoon, everyone.
Hey.
Hey there. I want to thank you again, McConnon, for inviting me. I know we had just recently met not too long ago. Shortly after that, you gave me the chance to have an invitation to come on the webinar. I actually had an invitation to actually watch the last webinar, which was great. And I was looking forward to being a part of it. So I want to thank you again for that opportunity. I am Samantha Barnes. I'm here in the US. I'm on the East Coast, Hampton Roads area of Virginia. Like I said, it's an honor. I have been to London before. I've been to Heathrow on my way to Ghana in 2017. So it's quite an experience. I love the fact that this webinar does present a chance for people to connect from all over the world. Also, I have enjoyed everyone that has been here today on the platform and giving their information, their insights, and sharing of their books or programming, content, and so forth. Once again, a good evening and good afternoon, everyone. It is actually 1:31 here on my time, so I know it's PM, kind of short and sweet. So again, I'm Samantha Barnes. I am an author of Failure to Glory. This is a memoir, so this is a fiction book. It was published here by a publishing label, Black Gold Publishing. Quite actually was published right before the shutdown with the COVID and everything, late part of, basically you say early part of February of 2020. So a lot of my moving around and things that I had physically planned wasn't able to do, sure, as well as a lot of other people. But nevertheless, I was grateful to have that book published. Being able to write about this book is actually a memoir. I would say the best way to describe the book is, outside of it being a memoir about a young girl's life, it is a book about overcoming challenges. It's a book about unveiling abuse, child abuse of many different types. A young girl's challenge to overcome all of that, to triumph over that, and she actually does in this book, to become a better person. And a lot of times with young ladies, and it does happen to males as well, not dismissing them, but there's many different paths that we can take, and I can relate to some of the other people that was up here, Stephen, one of them, talking about different traumas of childhood. And there are many, and when it comes to emotional or physical, it can be very traumatic. And so with this book and writing, it was very challenging for me to write, of course, changing characters and names to protect people and privacy. But I knew that it had to be a breaking and an unveiling for a lot of people, to a voice, being able to speak for a lot of people that wouldn't normally do it. In my time of knowing a lot of women who've gone a lot of brokenness, going through a lot of rejection and things of that sort, and who have gotten their hand on the book, was able to, come back and say that, hey, this really blessed me. This really has helped me, and the healing processes of what they had been through. So it was very great to know that. And that's what I'm really passionate about, my mark, making my mark, being impactful to people that are been through brokenness, helping them with their healing, and people that just been through different walks of life, letting them know and encouraging them to know that they can come from that. They can turn to a positive note no matter where they've been. So that's the short and sweet version of that. Anyone, I'll put my information to connect a series of other things that I'll be doing, as well as writing, and seriously other series of putting out in books. This one is one series of another that will be coming out to conclude with it. But outside of that, I'm a serial writer and continue to write and doing other things. Outside of that, love to give back and work in my community, doing different things of sort, getting together other business and entrepreneurs in the area, and collaborating, trying to network, and however, just in any way that I possibly can. So that's what I do in my spare time outside of running business and things like that. So like I said, again, not to be before you all long. I know the time is coming. Pretty short of the event, and I enjoyed being a part of it. Once again, thank Makonnen and everyone that has attended. I will put my information here. If anybody would like to even just see what's going on, follow on social media and different things like that, or connect however, maybe through other business resources and things that I have going on that I could share further and personally. Don't have the time here now, but would love to connect with you, and I enjoyed everyone today. Thank you again.
Okay, Samantha, I kept it short and sweet. So I'll go on to our next speaker, and it's going to be Nana Asante. If you come on from the group IO Spoken Word and Poetry Group. So Nana, I know you want me to share the screen. I've enabled screen sharing, so you should be able to do it.
Thank you very much. Good evening, everybody. So I'm from the Aya Poetry and Spoken Word Group. Aya is an Adinkra symbol, which means endurance and resourcefulness. Basically about me, we started wanting to appreciate the creativity of language in activism. I'm the secretary of IPAD Coalition UK. I chair Africans for JC Values. I'm the information officer of Global African Congress. I moderate the monthly meetings of Eco-Conscious Citizens, and I chair the Connections Global Village. This in a gist is what I do as an activist. In terms of appreciating the creativity in the language of activism, I do say we need to remember. In 2014, while I was mayor, I went to Accra. It was my dad's 90th birthday, and it was an opportunity to meet the mayor of Accra, and how people use language in terms of naming, because it was a significant event he renamed me, he called me Nadanswa, and it's a name from the Gamashi, the Ga Nation, the people of Accra. So it was just interesting about how people use words. Again, words, Shirley Chisholm, that queen, she's quoted in African Voices, and she said, you don't make progress by standing on the sidelines, whimpering and complaining. You make progress by implementing ideas. And that is what activists do. They try and make a difference. Shirley Chisholm again. And again, this is something that she said, which is encouraging and is being used even today. If they don't give you a seat at the table, bring a folding chair. And that was quite inspirational. Don't accept what they say, do something about it. Then in activism, when we're looking at injustice, we were looking at racism, and we know that racism against people of African heritage is quite specific. So we said, call it by its name, call it Afrophobia. And it's sort of, there's a link to our brother Makonnen here, because the symbol that I've got here is an Adinkra symbol called Sankofa, which means go back and fetch it. And you notice that Africa is represented in the middle of the Sankofa symbol. And basically what we're saying is, in looking for language, we need to look at our heritage, we need to remember, we need to know who we are. So one of the things that we've used words for as activists is to campaign for justice. And in 2016, we campaigned, we had an open letter, again, using words, to ask for the reinstatement of somebody who had been suspended from the Labour Party. We were successful. And it so happened that we sent our letter on Africa Liberation Day, which was the 25th of May, 2016. Petitions, that's another way you use words. We delivered a petition in our campaign for justice, again, using words. Campaigning 2019, before the pandemic, we were in Middlesbrough, where a lot of our children are being taken into care, and there is a need to support each other by turning up and having the demonstration. This is what brought around the Aya project. It was because we're looking at the words we use on posters and on in our chants, etc. You know, when you're saying our kids are not for sale, etc., things that would resonate. Those who know about the New Cross Fire know that the chant was 13 dead and nothing said. So again, spoken word. So Aya Poetry and Spoken Word Group, we're about using words, language, and poetry because they matter. We launched on the 27th of April, and we had 2 poets. We always try and feature one from the continent and one from the diaspora. So we had Grace Akuba, Grace Kwanzaa, and then we had Ngoma Bishop. And the 2 of them, and we had male and female for balance. In June, our group decided it wants to meet monthly for 2 hours. And we had Dr. Velma. Unfortunately, Herman Swade, our young man, wasn't able to join us because of internet problems. The theme then was inspiring the fight for freedom. But we're hoping to have him again, or at least have him give him another invitation. But Dr. Velma was fantastic. She took us through using words, poetry, etc. And my brother Ridwan sort of captured what the session was like. I learned from experts, words matter. For 2 hours, we learn how to name things so that we can, oh, 1 minute, my screen is not allowing me. Sorry about that, I have to get it up in another program so that I can read it. Yes, we learn to name things so that we can do things. For activism, this is a necessary step. One learns to be Socratic, to search for the truth of things in a sea of fake news. Published and non-published poets tell us what motivated them to write particular poems, and then a line or 2 are crafted on the spot. By giving things appropriate names, we prepare the ground for doing things. For those who might have a few Tuesdays until the end of the year, every month will also be fine. But we meet on the 2nd Tuesday of the month. Just come. It is Black people at our finest. In the beginning, there was just a word. In the end, will be just another word. In between is the poetry of our lives. So if you want to get involved, you can email me. I'll put it in the chat. But now we'll have Dr. Velma giving us 2 of her poems. Thank you very much.
Good evening, everyone. Can you hear me?
We can, but you need to get closer to your mic, please.
All right. I'm in my spare room. Let me drag this thing. Yes, is that better?
Much better.
Right. Greetings, family. Brother McKinnon, we've not met before. Now, Sister Nana has sent a message to say, brief. That's not what she said. So I'm only going to read one poem because poetry is just an aside. I must write nearly every day. And so when I'm not writing novels, then I write poetry. So I was born, so to save time, because this is Windrush season and I'd prefer to tell you a little bit, so I'll only need 3 minutes, 2-3 minutes. I was born in rural St. Anne because Stephen mentioned living in St. Anne, going to Jamaica. So I came here as a child in the 60s, so I'm a Windrush child. I spent today speaking earlier on a Zoom about coming to England, what it was like to have a fractured childhood as such. I'm a published writer. Hope Leaves Jamaica was the Windrush book in Wandsworth in 1998. Birds in the Wilderness is the sequel, also the Windrush book, and was Book of the Year in Jamaica in 98. So really, writing and novel writing, etc., is my thing. I am writing my 5th book at the moment, colossal book, over 1,000 pages. It is the story of the Jamaican people. So I'm going to leave it there. And my favorite writer is Claude McKay, writer, poet. His protest poetry. You hear I'm going fast to really not usurp time. So now I am going to read you a poem called If We Must Live. McKay wrote, If We Must Die. The reason why I've chosen this, I listened to Stephen talking about his life story. I listened to Y.L. Phillips, or Philip, and she wrote about a knife crime, etc. So when Kyan Prince died in May 2018, many of you or all of you would have heard of Kyan Prince. I was moved to write a poem as such. So it really is a response to McKay's poem, If We Must Die. So if we must live. If we must live to fulfill our hopes and aspirations, let it not be like men living on the edge of society, grown slack in zeal and getting by without great ideals, truant by trend and absent without paternal leave. O kinsmen, let us agree to reject learned helplessness, fostered by dead men who devalued our human rights. For we stand complacent while foxes spoil the vines, yet our vines have tender grapes that yield fine wine. If we must live in a time that engenders low expectations, tell our sons that they have a future worth fighting for. Let them not knife each other at the first sign of conflict or gun down blood brothers in the name of disrespect. O kinsmen, let us take positive action and set real goals, root out the guns and knives that kill our young vines. Let our sons not spill their hot blood in pride and anger. Let them not destroy their future with one death blow. If we must live in a world where Black lives matter not, raise our youth on the shoulders of great expectations. Tell our sons and daughters that true success is not innate. Come, seize opportunity and insert ourselves into the debate. Thank you. Can you hear me?
So much.
Okay, thank you very much, Dr. Velma. It was a lovely poem, and I didn't know you'd written those books as well. So that's something
there are
else.
The books. There are the books as well.
So yeah, that's something else I've been aware of. But we'll connect separately outside of this webinar. We'll connect. And thank you, Dr. Velma, and thank you, Nana, as well. I recently connected with Nana, becoming a member of the Global African Congress, and one of the presentations I delivered was actually about my time living in the Gambia when I was in the Gambia for 6 months in 2019. And I wrote my second book about life in the Gambia, The Smiling Coast of Africa. And actually, I was actually featured on a magazine, on Butterfly magazine, and Beverly, who's on the next speaker, she interviewed me, and I was on the front cover, and I had a special feature on that magazine as well. So I'm now going to introduce Beverly, and screen shares available, so you can share the screen, Beverly. So if you would like to come on and tell us about Butterfly magazine and what you do.
Yeah. Hello, everybody.
Hey, hi.
Our magazine has a readership which is also your 28 to 45-year-olds who are into social media, but we've got a set of 50 to 60-year-old plus who are old school and they love to buy and read books. So your books would be well received on our platform. As you can see, as McConnell said, he was featured in issue 40, and it was a pleasure interviewing him. Butterfly magazine, we started in April 2020 during lockdown. And right now we're read in 50 plus countries. And we come out every week. We are especially for Black creatives, and we introduce you to a global audience. We look forward to telling your story. You can get in touch with me at the address here, editor@butterflymagazine.net. You can visit our website and you can see all of our issues there. Thank you. Have a good evening.
Just a few things now before we conclude with the Black Books webinar. Thank you everyone who's joined us this Sunday. We'll be doing the same again next month for the Black Books webinar, which will be on the 25th of July. So if you're any authors are on the listening and you're interested in participating in that, please get in contact with me. Also, if you are a Black-owned business and you'll be interested in sponsoring the Black Books webinar to promote your services, events, etc., also please get in contact with me as well, and we'll love to hear you. A reminder, we have the Black Books webinar Facebook group as well, so join the Black Books webinar Facebook group where you'll be able to keep up to date with all the latest details and information. And I've recently also launched a new a new show, the Black Books radio show, which features on Luton Urban Radio and Galaxy Radio as well. And I'm just going to actually share my screen now so you can see the flyer of the events. But many of the authors that feature on the Black Books webinar, I normally have them on my on my platform, I have them on my Black Book Show platform. So I'm just going to share the flyer now so you can have a look at it. On Luton Urban Radio, it is every other Monday between 8 p.m. and 10 p.m. and also on Galaxy Radio every other Saturday. The authors that were like on this webinar, you'll be hearing them on like my shows coming up in the future, which is really an extension of the Black Books webinar platform, is now having the Black Book Show as well. If you're interested also in being a monthly supporter for the Black Books webinar, get in contact with me as well. And from a small donation from as little as £5, you can help support the Black Books webinar, because there's a lot of work that I do every single month to make these events happen, whether it's marketing, organizing, and contacting and communicating with authors and making it all happen. So there's a lot that goes in the work behind the scenes. So thank you everyone for joining us at the Black Books webinar, and I look forward to seeing you all again next month. And tell a friend and let them tell a friend. So take care and good evening, everyone. Take care.